Our reading is from the book Happy Life from Divaldo Franco by Joana de Angelis de Spirit. Be tolerant of your neighbor as you would hope he would be tolerant of you in a similar moment. Nobody on earth today moves ahead without mistakes, without fear, without torment, without generating afflictions when intended to do the right thing, and producing suffering when attempted to make peace. Everyone needs understanding and as a result, tolerance. So, sow tolerance today so that you may reap it tomorrow. Let's close our eyes and think of Jesus, our Master, our friend, and thank Him for all His teachings, His examples. And let's thank also the good spirits of TSS who are here to guide us during this study so we can be enlightened to understand and apply it into our lives. We also ask for Isa, who is helping us during this study, to be guided so we can understand better today's teachings. We thank the good spirits once again, Jesus and God, and so be it.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I know it's beautiful outside, so I know you're making an effort to be here. I appreciate it. Thank you for the message as we talk about tolerance, and tolerance is considered charity as well. So the thing today is without charity, there is no salvation. So we're gonna dissect this concept. What's charity? What's salvation? What's behind it? So we can implement as well in our lives. But first, a message from the gospel. Always struggle with this. Okay. Even if I were to speak all the languages of men and the language of the angels themselves, if I did not have charity, I would be like a sounding gong or a clanky cymbal. And if I were to have the gift of prophecy and grasp all mysteries, and if I had a perfect knowledge of all things, if I had all the faith possible to the point of moving mountains, if I had not have charity, I would be nothing. And if I were to distribute my belongings, to feed the poor and deliver my body to be burned, and if I did not have charity, none of this would be of any use to me. Sorry. Charity is patience. It is kind and benevolent. Charity is not envious. It is not harsh or hurried. It's not full of pride. It's not scornful. It does not look after its own interests. It does not take offense or becoming upset by anything. It does not suspect evil. It does not rejoice in injustice, but rejoice in the truth. It bears all things. It believes all things, hopes for all things, endure all things. Now, these three virtues remain: faith, hope, and charity, but among them, the most excellent is charity. So this is from the Gospel of Corinthians. And just very important note on from the Gospel, the word for the Greek term was agape, which it could be translated to many things. It could be translated to love as well. But for this, for the versions that we saw the most, it's charity. But charity and love, it's very similar. We're gonna explain. And I'm sure maybe you have seen this before. Like, it's very common. If I did not have charity, I would not have it. There will not be anything. So it's very popular. And it's without charity, there is no salvation. We have heard this before. Different versions of the same phrase. And it's also a chapter 15 from the Gospel according to Spiritism. So it also talks a lot about this. And also from that book as well, there is a communication from Apostle Paul that was psychographed in Paris in the 1800s that says, nothing more accurately translates the thought of Jesus, nothing summarized the man's duty so well as this maxim of divine order. So it's really like this kind of summarize Spiritism or like the gospel teachings in a phrase, but it's at the same time that there's more to this. But you also have heard another version of this when it says without the church there is no salvation, or without the truth there is no salvation. So this is without the church there is no salvation. So it kind of excludes a lot of people that, of course, have faith and believe in God, but if they don't follow exactly where the church says, it's not as relevant to Spiritism because it's not about religion, it's about faith. It's about believing in the moral teachings by God, and you can be a great person without, of course, following a specific religion. And without the truth, there is no salvation. Which truth? Like, we are not evolved enough to know all the 100% truth. So we also don't believe that, because the truth is very subjective. So we're not in that level to know exactly what's the truth. So I believe the most relevant one would be without charity, there is no salvation. Okay, perfect, thank you. Perfect, so what is salvation? Salvation, it has a lot of this Catholic church ideal that we're gonna have final judgment and you have one chance, you have one life, and that's all. But it's all the ideas here that we talk about, salvation, paradise, judgments, it's all figures of speech from the Bible. But what Spiritism believes is that instead of a single and definitive judgment, the Spiritism submits regularly to the cause of law and effect. So there is no end. We always gonna have trials, and we're gonna achieve or get to a level higher, and this is how we're gonna achieve the salvation. So it's we're expiating the consequences of our bad actions, purifying our imperfection, and perfecting the qualities. So there is no final judgment. We have trials every day, and we are surpassing, we are achieving higher levels of evolution, and you never go back to a level. The worst thing that can happen, you can just be stuck in the same level for a long time. But we're always improving ourselves. And salvation is basically the spiritual evolution. So in this concept, salvation, it's close to the idea of spiritual improvement, which implies a better condition of happiness for each evolutionary stage. So this is salvation. It's a higher spiritual evolution, improvements that's gonna come with a better condition of happiness. Perfect. And what is charity? So charity is the exercise of true love, pure, unconditional, without interest in any reward. So if love is a feeling, charity is an act. It's love in action. So anything that you do that it's in a way it's considered love in action, it's charity. So it's not only donating your clothes or donating money. So it's way beyond and above that. It could be if you're helping a friend, it's considered charity. If you're helping yourself, it's considered charity. If you're helping a family member, or if you're doing anything in that sense, pure, unconditional, without interest in reward, it's charity. And what's the true meaning of the word charity as Jesus understood it? Benevolence towards all, indulgence towards the imperfection of others, and forgiveness of offenses. So this is from the Spirit's book. So if somebody offends you, and if you don't do anything, if you just keep calm and you don't gonna think about any revenge, that's charity. If you see somebody like making a mistake that's gonna affect you, and if you don't do anything bad towards it, it's still charity. So Anytime we deal with the imperfection of others and forgive your offenses, it's charity as well. So it's not only doing good, but it's also not doing the bad. And every time you fail to provide assistance to one of the little ones, you fail to provide assistance to myself. So this is from the Gospel, Matthew. So every time you have a chance to help someone, specifically when you're called individually for that help, you're also failing the words of Jesus. So you can be proactive, but you also have to, of course, react whenever you have a chance or whenever somebody really needs you. You shall love God with all your soul and your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets are contained in these two commandments. So love your neighbor as yourself. It's also all about charity. So the gospel is full of those messages that contain the same message of love and charity. Okay, so is charity enough? So when we say without charity, there is no salvation, and that's became kind of a motto or a slogan for Spiritism, and this is it means a lot, but however, it's not everything. So charity is not enough because we also need spiritual improvement in intellectual capability. So if you only do charity and you don't understand why and how it's going to help you, you're helping yourself, but it's not everything that you can do because we need the moral teachings and the intellectual capabilities to evolve. So we need intelligence and morality to achieve progress. Morality and intelligence are the two forces that only balance over time. So this is Allan Kardec. So morality and intelligence. Some people are very intelligent, but they have no morals, and there's the other way as well. But with time, with progress, they tend to balance each other. So we need charity, we need morality, we need intelligence. And if we can kind of adjust the phrase a little bit, we can say without charity and wisdom, there is no spiritual evolution. And then we can talk about humility as well, because it's very important when we talk about charity. So ideally, every time you do an act of charity, you don't have to announce, you don't have to remember people, you don't have to, ideally you just do it and you just leave it as is, because a lot of people would like to get that public approval of the actions they're doing. So this is frowned upon according to Spiritism. I believe nowadays we can think about ways that this could be beneficial. For example, if somebody is a famous person and wants to raise awareness for a certain cause, I think that's acceptable, of course, that the person does a donation and announce to everyone to motivate other people to do it. But that's a very specific reason. So you want to do that to raise awareness, to get more people motivated, and not just to show off, because it's very common for people to do it and they just do it to show off and make them seem they're very charitable, but sometimes they only do it, of course, for that perception. So all Jesus' morals are summed up in charity and humility, but in these two virtues are contrary to selfishness and pride. So charity and humility, and quite opposite is selfishness and pride, and that's why we don't want to have this attention every time we do charity, of course. And if you have public attention, sometimes we're believing the person that's receiving the charity, so we have to be careful with that. And that's a beautiful message as well that I got that's related to that. Blessed are the poor in spirit, he said, meaning the humble, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the pure of heart. Blessed are the meek and the peace-loving. Blessed are the merciful. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others what you want them to do unto you. Love your enemies. Forgive offenses. And if you yourself want to be forgiven, practice the good without ostentation. Judge yourselves before you judge others. So it's all about humility when you practice charity. So what happens when you do charity but with ostentation? So anytime you do charity with the intention of getting public recognition, admiration, some form of personal benefit, rather than a genuine desire to help others. So if you're doing that to get that recognition, your award or your benefit is already that recognition. So you're not get the, let's say, the spiritual credit for that charity. So it's not that you're doing a bad thing. I think of doing charity with ostentation, it's better than not do charity at all, because those people, like some people need that benefit, need that money, need whenever you're giving. So it's still better than do nothing, but the public recognition is already your benefit or your prize that you're getting from that charity. However, if you do without ostentation, then you're gonna get the spiritual benefits from the charity. So anytime like you're seeking recognition, self-serving motives, or lack of genuine compassion, you're not getting the full benefit of the charity. And now the spiritual consequences. So charity performed with ostentation does not contribute significantly to one's spiritual progress. It's still better than nothing, better than just ignoring the issue, but it's not the full what we are teaching here. And this is from the Gospel according to Spiritism. When you do charity, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your charity may be in secret. And your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you openly. So that's really clear. Every time we do it, let's not announce it. Only if you want to motivate other people, and if you want to be to tell them and show you, like I'm talking about this cause and I'm doing as well. So this is a genuine motive, and then it's okay. But if not, let's do it in secret, because we don't know the people that are needed, how they would like to be seen in that light. So charity comes first. So therefore, Jesus does not consider charity as one of the conditions for salvations, but the only condition. And we always put the charity first. Implicity encompasses all other: humility, gentleness, benevolence, indulgence, justice, because it's the absolute negation of pride and selfishness. And it's from a very important median. He was Euripides Barçanufo. He wrote many books, and he was one of the persons that encompass charity and for all his work. And he said, first be charitable, then we will be happy. So you don't wait the right moment to do charity or to act in love. You just do it. And also Chico Xavier mentioned, if I had to wait for a happy day or a day that I did not have any pain or a day that I would not cry to do charity, I would not have done anything, because he was in a very dire situation. He went through many struggles, but he was doing charity every day. So even in pain, even with many problems, financial problems, and all kinds of problems he had, he was still doing charity. So that's not wait for a moment, the perfect moment. So when I have money, I'm gonna donate, or when I have the time, or when I'm not in a good mental state. You just do it. So you just not wait. You just do it. And this is a beautiful message as well to psychographed in Paris in the 1800s from Sister Rosalia. There is great merit, believe me, in a man knowing how to remain silent, allowing someone more foolish than himself to speak. This is a kind of charity. Knowing how to be deaf when a mocking word escapes a mouth accustomed to mocking. Not seeing the disdainful smile with which people who often wrongly think they are above you above you receive you. When the spirit's light, the only real one, they are often far below consistent merits, not from the point of view of humility, but of charity. Because not paying attention to bad behavior of others, it's a moral charity. So every time somebody is kind of trying to trigger you or saying something targeting you, if you ignore it, it's going to be considered charity because you're not being consumed that energy. Every time somebody's targeting you in that sense, is it because they want you to pull you into their energy? So they want to offend you, so they're going to get the energy back. So they're looking for a response. So when they do something rude or targeting you specifically, they are looking for a response from you. And if you don't engage, what are they going to do? Or if you go even above that, what if you say something nice as a response? Imagine how ashamed they're going to be, how embarrassed they're going to be. So, so that's the idea behind it. Not responding to bad behavior is also charity. Oops. Okay. However, be careful, especially not to treat your fellow man with contempt. Always bear in mind that by repelling a poor person, you may repel a spirit that was dear to you, and that at that moment is in an inferior position to yours. I found here one of the poor of the earth, whom, fortunately, I had been able to help a few times, and from whom, in my turn, now I have to beg for help. Remember that Jesus said that we are brothers, and always think about that before rejecting the leper or the beggar. Think of those who suffer and pray. So every time you reject to help, you decide not to help somebody. It could be a beggar, it could be somebody asking for help. Remember, in maybe another life, or they might be way above you in terms of the evolution scale, and that you might need their help. Or sometimes the situation changes and you're not helping a friend or not helping a family member, and then the situation changes and now you need their help. That also happens. So every time we repel somebody looking for help, that might be a consequence. Perfect. So let's talk about charity and the types of charity, because we always think about like materials and donation, giving money, but there are so many ways. So the material charity is the obvious one. As we're looking about donation, money, tools, clothes. That's the one that we tend to believe that most people here do. Community service, if you have the time, there are so many volunteering opportunities here in Toronto. And you take way more than you do, because from all the learnings of connecting with all these people, you get a perspective to many other things that sometimes are above or are beyond the bubble that sometimes we just live in. So volunteering to get that perspective, it's really a humbling experience. The moderate charity would be emotional support whenever a friend, whenever somebody's looking for that help. Forgiveness and tolerance. So every time you get offended or something happens, if you forgive, and if you truly forgive, that's a type of charity as well. And on forgiveness, I want to reinforce that you have to truly forgive and forget, in the sense, because a lot of people say, oh, this person is great, but 20 years ago, this person said this, and this. And if you remember what that person said, and if you still hold a grudge, you have not truly forgiven or forgotten. So this is, if you still have the remorse, you're only hurting yourself. So this is not helpful. So you have to truly not think about it. And if you realize that you're having a hard time forgiving, maybe it's thinking about the source of the feeling, and maybe talking to the person, because I think it's better to put in start of a clean slate and talk to it about the person, or maybe seeking maybe therapy to deal with that feeling. So if you do that work, you're gonna be helping yourself and helping the person as well, because we don't want this kind of energy going back and forth. And of course, kindness and compassion with everyone you deal. Intellectual charity. So a lot of people are very educated and they have the opportunity to mentor others and just to help the less fortunate with education, with mentorship. So this is very helpful. And it's spreading enlightenment sometimes when you have a friend in need. So we can maybe mention a little bit about spiritism, see if the person is interested. I never like to push spiritism, like we talk about all the time, but sometimes there is an opportunity for this, and you can mention, oh, this book, or this teaching, that might help the person you need. And of course, the spiritual charity, when you pray, it's charity when you pray for somebody, in the moral example as well. So all of that, it's charity. So it's not only donating or used clothes, but anything you do towards the love and towards others, it's charity as well. And how you measure charity? So questioning myself, okay, if I'm doing charity, how do I measure? How can I improve my charity levels? So it's measured by intention, sincerity, and moral quality behind the acts, rather than the material value or the magnitude. So because of that, we don't need a lot of money. We don't need power to do charity, of course. So this is how you measure. So intention and sincerity. If it's truly selfishness, if you have the pure intentions in your heart to help, the consistency and commitment. It's really common to do like once in a lifetime, oh, I'm going to go to this charity event, and then you kind of forget about it, and then you don't do it. But if you make a commitment, anything that it's weekly by weekly, I think it's much easier to keep going with that practice, because you don't have to think about it. Like if you commit to something every week, you just do it, so you don't have to think too much about it. And commitment to improvements. So you're thinking about how you can always improve that that charity. The impact on the spiritual growth. So as you move on with the charity, you get this moral elevation and you create this positive influence. And it's all about quality over quantity. So it's the depth of the impact. So the depth of emotional, intellectual, spiritual support provided that can be more significant than the number of acts. So if it's one person that you're truly helping and you're kind of changing the life of this person, and the person really needs you, and if you believe that it's really helping, maybe it's better than do like a lot of things or like at the same time. So it's all about quality and your personal sacrifice. So if it's something that's taken a lot from you, and you feel that it's meaning like a personal sacrifice, it also counts as we measure charity. But it's, of course, like it's really hard to really measure. So we just do as much as we can. And when we feel it, like I can do more. If I can do more, most likely I can do more. So it's easier to do it. And a lesson from Emmanuel. So this is Chico Xavier was walking the streets, and he was, of course, never alone because he had his mentor, Emmanuel. And he was walking the streets, and there was a drunk guy in the streets, and he was asking for money. Can I have some money to buy bread? So the guy was very drunk, could barely speak. And Chico said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have anything here." And he walked away a few steps. And at the same moment, Emmanuel, the mentor, showed up and said, like, what we're doing? Like, you have some points. You have money in your pockets. Why didn't you give to the guy? And he said, no, but he's drunk. Like, he's going to take my money and go to the bar next door, and it's going to drink like and be even worse than he is right now. And Emmanuel said, this is not your problem. He asked money to buy bread, to buy food. Whatever he does with your money, it's not a problem. So go back there and give him the money. So he's like, okay, and he gave the money to the guy. And who's to say he was not hungry? Who's to say he really needed that that money. So this is the mentality, the mindset when we do charity. Even if you believe the person is not going to use the resources in the best way possible, it's not a problem. If you have the chance to do it, to give, you just do it. Don't think about it, because I know it's very common when you walk in the streets and you see a person in a very hard situation. You think, oh, I'm not going to give the money because, you know, like they're going to buy drugs. Are they going to buy drugs? Maybe they're going to buy food for their household, or they're going to, you know, go use the money for another thing. But even if they use the money for drugs, you did your part. So this is the most important thing. Like, you have to do your part, and that's not think about it. It's on the other side. So we need to think that way. And this is another beautiful message from Paul about without charity, there is no salvation. This motto is the heavenly light, the luminous pillar that guides them through the deserts of life in order to lead them to the promised land. You recognize them by the fragrance of charity they spread around them. Nothing better expresses charity. Without charity, there is no salvation. Jesus thought. Nothing better sums up the duty of men and women than this maximum of divine order. With such a guide, people never become lost. So, my friends, apply yourself to grasping its profound meaning and consequences, and to discovering for yourself its application. Submit all your actions to the test of charity, and your conscience will respond to you. In order to practice good, the action of the will is always necessary, whereas in order not to practice evil, idleness and negligence are often enough. Make efforts so that when others observe you, they can say that the true spiritist and the true Christian are the one and the same thing. For all who practice charity are Jesus' disciples, whenever the denomination to which they belong. What I love about this message is you have to surrender yourself to charity, and it's in the spiritual world, it's very recognizable, the ones that are very charitable, about the fragrance and the energy around it. So this is really beautiful. And I wanted to bring something that's going a little bit beyond the way to talk about spiritism, but something that interests me a lot. It's how science and spiritism are going in the same direction. As we have learned that at some point, spiritism and science are going to complete each other, and that's something it's hard to believe, because nowadays they're two completely different things. In the future, it's believed that everything that we talk about here is going to be proven. It's going to be part of science. As we talk about spiritism, we talk about energy. This is going to be part of science, and kids will one day study this in school. But that's one field of science that is getting closer to those discoveries as we talk about energy and connectedness. And Allan Kardec believed in the convergence of harmony between scientific discoveries and spiritual truths. Spiritism and science complete each other. Science, without the light frowned upon by the spiritism, finds itself unable to explain many phenomena by the mere laws of matter. Spiritism without science would lack support and examination. So what I love about spiritism is it's try to explain itself with science. As we talk about magnetic fields and frequencies, it's all has this backup of science. But that's one field that is very recent, that is making discoveries that I think is gonna very aligned to spiritism, which is quantum mechanics. And it's very hard to explain, but I'll try my best. So quantum mechanics. So what's quantum mechanics? We know classic mechanics. So classic mechanics is the one we're used to, that we learned in school, the Newton laws and gravity and all of that. So that we learn the formulas, and this is what we're used to. So we know, like, if we carry this book to this table is gonna be there, and we know like the weight and gravity and all of that. So we're very used to classic mechanics, the 3D, that we have 3 dimensions, and we also have time. However, quantum mechanics, it's about the very small particles. So we're talking about neutrons, electrons, photons, so very minimal. And it's proven that these particles are so minimal, they don't follow classical mechanics, they follow quantum mechanics because they are so little. And that's there are many experiments that are explaining how these are different. And it's all about how it differs from classical mechanics. And there is experiments that calls something that happens every day, but they are trying now. They're explaining, and there was a Nobel Prize winner that actually got the Nobel Prize because he had this article about quantum entanglement. So basically, quantum entanglement is 2 particles are linked in such a way that the state of one particle influences the state of the other, no matter how far apart they are. So this is something that even Einstein was bothered about, because in his time, like he could not explain this effect, and he actually called it spooky action at a distance, because he could not comprehend how these 2 particles are. If one is spinning in a direction, the other one's going to be spinning in the opposite direction. And if you measure up or down, they're going to react always going to be the opposite of the other. This is kind of hard to explain, so this is what I got from my research. But if you search online about this, basically they are connected. And no matter how far apart they are, it's as if they are communicating. So let's say one particle is in Brazil, the other particle is in Australia. They are communicating faster than the speed of light. And this is crazy, because imagine like all the scientists coming to we are used to classical mechanics, so like how are they gonna explain this? But this is something that happens in our everyday life. And they also thought about, what if when those particles were created, they already had a plan and they're just following the plan, which is how they are, and they tested, and that's not true. So that's actually a communication that's happening in those 2 particles. So how does it affect spiritism in our daily life? So this means we are connected to all of us, all our family, our friends, everyone that we have an interaction, and everyone we think about it. So we know that we are affecting each other just by thinking of them. We are affecting our fields, and we are affecting everyone that we are in contact with. So we are all interconnected. And there is an influence beyond physical borders. So we don't see the magnetic fields, and we don't see what happens in our thoughts. But every time we have a good thought about somebody, you're probably sending their energy to that person, and it's affecting that person in a way. Same thing when you are filled with hatred, and we are thinking of planning a revenge in your mind, you're also affecting that person in a way. So this is how science is beginning to explaining how energy works and how we are all interconnected. And this explains a lot of things that are, for example, when you feel energies, like you get in a room and you feel, oh, this room, like there's a tense energy here, and somebody, the room is empty, but you feel it. Or let's say you get into a room that is full of people, but you feel that you are observed. So you're like, somebody's looking at me. So you start looking for the person. Oh, yeah, that person was looking at me. But how you're able to feel it? You know, classical mechanics would not explain this. But if you feel observed, or somebody, you get in a room, you just feel loved. You feel that I'm where I'm supposed to be. This is where I should be. And to be honest, every time I go through those doors, I feel the same thing. So when I come here, I just feel calm. I just feel like my body's settling down, and I feel the energy of the room. So it's all those things that classical mechanics doesn't have an explanation, but quantum mechanics slowly getting there. And one day we're going to be able to explain in equations like how this works. And to finalize, this is one of the most beautiful prayers that that I find is the prayer of St. Francis. It's also encapsulates charity in everything it says. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let show me love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving what we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying that we are born to the eternal life. Amen. So this is one of the most beautiful prayers, and it has charity like in all its world. So this is my lecture, and I hope you take something with it. And now we are opening for questions or comments, anything that you took away from this lecture.
We don't have anything related to it. But I think you brought a very, very important thing for us to remember, the importance of doing the charity on our daily basis and keeping it as that to ourselves, right? Because usually we like to do the charity and show off, and we don't need that, right? We should get all the credits for that in the afterlife.
Exactly. But it's still, even with the ostentation, it's better than do nothing. So
yeah, of course.
If you believe they're helping raising awareness, or if you are getting people motivated to do it, it's okay, as long as you have the pure intention of doing that. Any other comments, questions?
Okay, thank you, Isa. So now we will prepare for our classes. Thank you for everyone that was with us in the internet today. Hope to see you next week again.